Well, there it goes. Damn it. Well, it's not driving now. Hello and welcome back to episode 14 of the Corvette Video Restoration Diary series. In the last episode, got some stuff done with my cruise control, got the vacuum lines that were collapsed replaced, so that system should work a little better, and also cleaned up the battery compartment and finally installed a battery hold down clamp, because vibration, that's like one of the main things that will kill a lead plate acid battery, because the thing shakes around in there and bad things happen. So that should help that problem. And who wants your battery to fall out? In this episode, I want to install my stock radio, but C4 life happens, and instead I have to play with the VATS. Ooh, look what I got in the mail today. A factory replacement radio for my C4. Now, this isn't the one that came with it, but it looks exactly like it. It's just square with round knobs and these little slider guys. So this is exactly what I want. I'm going to go check the fitment, because hopefully this isn't 2 DINs and it's 1.5 DIN like the other one. So let's go out there and see if it will match up. And now, because it's been 1,000,000 degrees here in town for the last couple weeks, it's been over 100. I got this cover on it, and it actually does keep it a lot cooler, because this car is basically a big giant oven with all this glass until I get it more tint on it. All right. All right. That looks like that will fit. Now these brackets are different. That's gonna be a problem because the brackets are on the side for it. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that looks like that will fit just fine. That will be so much better than what was in here before. I think this power button, I think the other one's probably black. But hey man, tape deck with a clock, that's the main thing I wanted too, is a clock. Love having a clock. So what I got this out of was a different GM car. So the nice thing is it comes with a wire harness in case the wire harness is any different. So I should be able to hook this bad boy up and have it work with my modified subwoofer back there. And now all this system will work and probably even be louder, because this thing I turn it all the way up and it's not even loud enough. So I will do that on another day, but as of right now, that looks like that is gonna fit in there perfectly. Something fell off. Hopefully that's not important. Oh, also this has the wrong knob on it right here. It's supposed to have these kind of knobs. It actually didn't have a knob in the listing that I got it from, and the guy was nice enough to put a knob on here. But I did order another OEM one of these knobs from a Corvette, so at least those two will hopefully match when they come in. So there we go. Looks like that test fit is gonna work, and we'll put it in later, and then my dash will look completely original. Yes. And the best thing is this is under $100 and it's perfectly working. Cores of correct C4 radios, because there's the word Corvette in there. People think they're worth gobs of money, and they're charging like $150 plus just for a core. So this is 100% working. So that's the other reason why I got this. Okay, here we go. Genuine GM knob. Cool. Just like that one. So pull that one off. The wrong one. And put on a correct one. Okay, so the replacement one has a little tiny bit of rust in there. Jeez, so it's hard to get it on. Okay, I put some silicone spray on it. Now it's on there, and it doesn't look like it's gonna come off anytime soon. But that's okay, so now I've got two matching knobs.
put that bad boy in one day when it's not 1,000,000 degrees outside. Cool.
So I haven't installed the radio yet, but I do get to use the C4 and do all kinds of things like go shopping with it.
Anything will fit in a C4. You just have to be creative. All right, made it to the grocery store and the hardware store, and plenty of room.
Things on the C4 actually seem to be going well so far. After 3 years, I'm finally able to start putting some miles on her and actually use this thing as a daily driver and have fun with the car. Things are going great, and I'm just chugging along, and then...
Just did it. I don't hear anything clicking now. Hear it clicking in here. Oh man. Well, there it goes. You can hear it clicking out there now. Damn it. Well, it's not driving now. Okay, well, I guess I'll test that later.
At first, I was just thinking it was brushes inside of the starter because it was clicking. Usually that means the brushes, and they're coming in contact with the commutator inside of there. I think that's what it's called. But the thing inside of it that spins makes contact with the brushes, and if the brushes are getting wore out and they don't have enough pressure pushing on them because they're short now, then the thing just sits there and clicks. Sometimes that could be the solenoid as well. Either way, it's a cheap repair, and I just went ahead and ordered some brushes. But then this happened.
See, it didn't click that time. I did not hear it clicking. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that might be the switch. Oh my goodness. Wonderful.
All right, so now we're into diagnostic time. I need to figure out if it's the starter itself or the wiring going to the starter. In the old days, what you could do to test if it's the starter or not, or if it's the wires or not, is just jump the starter directly in the vehicle. You do this with the old-fashioned screwdriver trick.
Well, so there it goes. Scary. And that's the screwdriver trick.
But I can't do this on my C4 because there is so much stuff in the way. But there is another way that you can do this, and that's with a remote starter switch. It's doing the same thing as the screwdriver trick, but with a switch that is higher up that you don't have to crawl underneath the car to use. You do have to crawl underneath the car to install it. You install one side on the battery post that's coming directly in from the top, and then you install the other side to one of the terminals. There's two terminals on the side of the solenoid. One isn't used. It's for like way back in points days where you needed to have different voltage for your points. The other one that's closest to the block, that's the relay essentially for the solenoid. And that's what activates the solenoid. So just make a connection between those two with the remote starter switch.
All right, well, it just didn't start with the key. No clicky, no nothing that I could hear. And I was able to start it with my bypass switch directly to the starter. So it is not the starter that's the problem. It's something else. Okay, well, I was able to start it this way, though. So that's good. Oh, well. I got to figure out what the heck's causing that. It is definitely not working now. So security light's on. Turn the key. Security light goes off. So that's good. Comes on when I turn the key, though, doesn't it? Huh. So when the keys turn, security light's on. I wonder. I don't know if it's the VATS or something else. Dang it.
All right, well, let's go ahead and look at the block diagram to start explaining how this is supposed to work. So here's a block diagram of the ignition circuit. You can see right before the starter, there's a couple things that are in the way. One of them is the VATS decoder, and the other one is the transmission neutral safety switch. It could be a failure in either of those two things. So according to the block diagram, this is how it works. The key, it's gonna go to the VATS decoder. So the key information gets sent directly to the VATS decoder. The VATS decoder is gonna say yay or nay to the resistor in the key. It's gonna have the right resistor value in it, and the VATS decoder is gonna say pass. If it has the wrong value or no value, say you're trying to hotwire the car, the VATS decoder is gonna say fail. If the VATS decoder says yes or pass, then that signal from the VATS decoder goes to two different places. One of the signals goes to the ECM or your computer, and the other signal, which is pertinent to this conversation, is the signal goes to the starter enable relay. The relay is just essentially another switch. It needs to have two things sent to it. It basically needs to have power sent to it. It needs a positive and a negative to it, and then the relay will close. It's just a magnet basically inside of there. It needs the positive and negative for the relay to close. And then that will continue to send the signal down to the rest of the starter circuit. In this case, to the transmission neutral safety switch. So we're looking at the real actual starter diagram here now with the VATS decoder stuff in it. This isn't the block diagram, this is the actual wiring diagram. So the green wire coming out of the VATS decoder, it's gonna basically send ground to the starter enable relay. And that's going to input B of the relay. So turning the key, that's also going to send a signal to the starter enable relay. And once you turn that key, that's going to send the positive to the other side of the starter enable relay. And the VATS decoder is sending the negative to the starter enable relay. So the relay will close and the connection from E to A will be made to the starter. The point of the relay is you need the key and the correct resistor value in the key, and that should make it almost impossible to steal the car if you don't have the right resistor in your key. Sure, you can hotwire the car, but without that resistor, the one of 14 or whatever that number is that they have, you're not going to be able to get in the car. And if you try to be sneaky and have like 14 different resistors with you, well, the computer locks it out every 10 minutes, so it would take you that times 10 to find the right resistor value. Chances by then you would have been discovered. So that's what the VATS is trying to do. It's trying to keep people from stealing the C4s because they were stolen like crazy when they were brand new. So let's tear into the dash and see if it's the relay or not. It could also be the neutral safety switch on the transmission, so I have to tear the dash apart to get to both of them and look at them both. So I'll just start by looking at the starter enable relay.
All right, so I got to pull the center console bezel cover off. To get to that, you got to take this one off first. Super simple. Take out the screws, take off the button, take out, if you got some screws in the dash here, take those out so you can lift this up a little bit more to get the bezel out. So let's do it. All right, let's do this in record time here. First, headlight switch. Off. That's done. Next, screws. No screw. Okay, so I'm gonna push the steering wheel down a little bit. This is now loose, got the screws out, tilted the wheel all the way down. Gonna lift my dash pad up a little bit. easy peasy. Except for that. Always a little bit of a pain. There it goes. There you go. So you want to do that without breaking it, obviously. Now, to get to this, super simple. Screws again, just more screws. I'm putting these in a different parts tray, so I don't mix up my screws, even though these aren't the original screws. Doesn't really matter too much, and these ones I always forget, because there is a couple here. And because I've removed my bread box, I just have a couple here like this. With some dumb washers that don't fit right. Okay, and then that should be ready to come out. Oh, there's one screw on the side here. I always forget this one. Boop. There we go. Okay, now this should come right out. There we go. Center console bezel out. All right, so now I got to get the, what is this thing called? This is called the instrument center. I think that's what it's called, some kind of center. And it's this screw and that screw. I think that's it, holding this whole thing in. These are 7mm bolts, because GM, and they're 7mm bolts. The other one's so loose it came right out. All right, and this, I don't know, maybe this top screw is in something. Oh, that is. This top screw is screwed into something. So there you go. And that middle screw. And then the whole thing will just pop out. Watcha! Watcha! Okay. Here is my starter enable switch right here. Let's get a look at this. Okay, so now I'm on the inside of it. This is exactly what I want. And this is where my starter enable junk is. Where are my keys? Watch it start now. Oh, of course it starts now. Of course it starts now. Dang it. Of course it starts now. Now I have no idea what the real problem is. Anyways, I'm gonna bypass this. So I'm just gonna bypass it. I'll show you how to do that. Super simple. Okay, so I just realized something dumb. There's two clips on here holding this harness, and it's also screwed in, one screw here, one in the back. You can try to get those out, but I'm gonna try to get this clip off of here with it still in here. This clip is to take the relay apart. Don't mess with that one, I just broke it by accident. This bottom one is to get the wire harness out, duh. So I'm gonna mess with that one. All right, so pull that down and then pull on. Oh my goodness. I might have to get that out. I just can't get to this easily enough. There it goes. Now, will that pull out? Barely, barely, barely. Come on, you. Barely. Okay. All right. Now, watch. It definitely won't start now. See? Nothing. Okay. Now I need to bypass it. I'm just going to bypass it. I don't know. Paper clip or something. Now, you're going to look at this and go, oh my gosh, look at all this corrosion here. This is terrible. No, this is actually GM's equivalent of some kind of lubrication to keep it from deteriorating. It just turns into this terrible black goo. So, you know, you're probably just better off filling it up with Vaseline. That's a better seal. All right, so I need to bypass this wire. I believe it's the one with the green and white stripe. And one of these two yellow wires. have to go look at the schematic. I'll be back. So these two yellow wires, this is power coming in. They're exactly the same wire. Is jump the green wire, the white stripe, to either one of these power wires. I'm gonna have to get a little more advanced with this, aren't I? I'm gonna have to make a spade wire. This will not stay. Well, shoot. Well, for demonstration purposes, they're both disabled right now, or they're both jumped. See, and then that will start. Okay, so that will work. So paper clip, not gonna work. I'm gonna need to make a connector with two spades on the ends of those, and that will be my bypass, because I'm not gonna cut that harness. Okay, made this little fun gizmo. Two spade connectors. And watch-a. And watch-a. And there you go. Whoops. So my VATS starting circuit is now disabled. The security part with the doors is still enabled.
So how did I bypass the starter enable relay? You grab either one of the yellow wires that are inside of there. Both of them are just coming from the ignition switch. So you make a connection from the yellow wire, and then you make a connection to the green wire with the white stripe, and that bypasses the starter enable relay and essentially the VATS decoder part of the switch. Now I have the starter enable relay bypassed, but there is still one more part of the VATS that's active in my car. Remember looking at that block diagram and how the VATS decoder is still sending a signal to the ECM or the computer? Well, that signal is still being sent, so you still have to have that resistor chip or have the correct key and your ignition switch working properly, or you're still not going to be able to start the car. So the VATS decoder is sending the pass or fail information to the ECM, and the ECM independently is going to say, okay, Jer put in the right key, let's go ahead and start up the fuel pump. If the VATS decoder sends fail to the ECM, you're not going to have a fuel pump, and that thing is going to be dead for a little while. I think it's about 10 minutes or so that it kind of kicks into this safety mode, where if you're trying to put different resistors in there really quick and steal the car, it's not going to let you do that. So that's why there's that window of like 5 to 10 minutes where you just got to sit there and wait for the car to start again, even if you have the correct resistor in the car. So if you're one of those people that have done the VATS bypass, keep in mind your VATS is not actually bypassed. You are still using the VATS decoder. The VATS decoder is still sending that signal to the ECM, and that ECM is saying, hey, I'm going to turn the fuel pump on or not. So if your VATS decoder croaks, or if some other wiring issue happens somewhere in there, your car is going to still not work properly. Really, the only way to bypass the VATS properly, and I've said this before, is to get your computer chip, the EEPROM inside of it. You can get that reprogrammed and ignore the VATS system. That's the only way to do it properly. So you have to take the EEPROM out of your computer and send that to some guy, and they'll tune it, which isn't too hard to do. And you can also get the temperature of your fans reprogrammed at the same time. So it's not a terrible idea if you want to go ahead and do that. I have not yet done that on my car. And by the way, the theft deterrent system is still active. Remember, in my 87, that's a completely separate system. The VATS and the door alarms are not connected. I've talked about this before in a previous video. I believe the 86 to 89 cars are all going to be like that. You know, they all got rewired in different dashes and stuff completely later, and I believe after that the systems were combined, but I don't know. I don't have a wiring diagram for the later cars. I don't have a later car, so I don't care. I haven't looked it up. Oh well, I don't know how that works. You'll have to send me a wiring diagram if you want me to figure it out. So finally, after diagnosing that problem and I think solving it, I have one more thing to wrap up on my starter enable relay bypass.
All right, so just to be a little bit extra safe, Put some tape around here. Not using electrical tape because electrical tape always just gets gummy and nasty anyways. This is just kind of more to keep it from falling out. Not necessarily insulating it, it's already pretty well insulated. Okay. All right, button that back up. Next, I'm gonna put in the radio. Ooh, let's put in that radio. I think all that shot was just super overexposed.
So all that and more is gonna happen in the next episode. If you haven't had a chance, don't forget to smash the subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments or concerns for me, just go ahead and leave those in the comments section below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the C4 adventure thus far. Have a fantastic day and happy C4ing.